Get ready because it is time to unravel the truth behind the glossy brochures and polished sales pitches. There are things builders are not going to tell you that you need to know before taking the plunge with new construction. Well, hey everyone, it's Wendy Pinnell, and today we're diving deep into all the things buyers need to know before buying a new construction home. Now, the problem is builders and developers, their goal is to get you under contract. That's it, one goal. And they're certainly not going to go digging for answers on questions you don't ask or don't know to ask. Okay, so let's talk about this. All right, starting out with number one, and something I guarantee you, builders are not going to jump out with. All right, here it is. You need to know the builder's total inventory and exposure. Now, before you start thinking, how easy this one will be to find out, remember, builders don't put all their inventory homes on MLS, right? Many times they don't list their upcoming inventory and they don't list their available lots. Like even builders' websites don't often have all of their current inventory and lots available to view. Everything you're hearing about a housing shortage, that's to their advantage. And they're gonna do what they can to instill a sense of scarcity, That's their job, right? Scarcity brings, FOMO, and FOMO brings a higher price. So many times the sales consultant will tell you about all the homes that just went under contract, just this past weekend, and that they only have like these 2 homes left, when the truth is they may have like a dozen more scheduled for release at the end of the week. The problem that goes along with this is that most reports on the housing market come from MLS data. So by keeping their data off the MLS, this skews the amount of homes available. So, you'll hear verbiage like about a housing shortage, like you'll hear, we're in a seller's market. And this is all based on homes on the MLS. So your builders often don't put all of their homes on the MLS, and often they won't even tell you when you go there in person, all right? And that gives them this continued advantage of scarcity. Okay, so just for fun, I went back to all of our new construction closings in 2023, and I was really surprised to see that like only a fraction of those homes were actually on MLS. The way we work with our buyers, is we do like this deep dive research that goes way beyond the MLS, Then we go to the builders, and like invariably we end up either doing like a custom new build or an inventory home that was never listed. So we do personally like a very high volume of new construction, but most of what we close never shows up on the MLS. And honestly, I bet any high-performing realtor in Dallas will tell you the same thing. And that right there is like so telling when it comes to the data that is not being reported. For example, let's talk about the Mosaic community in Salina. The Mosaic community is relatively new, and the website shows that it will have like 6 total builders. So let's just take like a glimpse. Let's take a look at 2 of those. Let's look at American Legend Homes and Highland Homes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the number of homes on the MLS, the number on each of those builders' websites, and then how many homes are like on the Mosaic website itself. So keep in mind when we're looking at these numbers, that the idea of a housing shortage, again, scarcity, that's linked to the numbers on the MLS. So American Legend has 4 homes listed on the MLS, 16 on their website and 40 on the Mosaic website. So they actually have 36 more possible homes than what the MLS is reporting. Now, how about Highland Homes? They show 11 homes on the MLS and their website, but the Mosaic website shows they actually have 98. So Highland has 87 more homes than what's actually on the MLS. So all in, just in Mosaic and just with 2 of their 6 builders, there are 123 more new construction options than what's shown on the MLS. So why is this important? Because you need to cut through the sales consultant's message and find out how exposed they really are, and the MLS is not gonna show you that. All right, so it takes looking at all these community websites, builder websites, and definitely site plans. Now that you've found out how many homes the builder actually has, we want to find out what prices they've been accepting. So, personally, one of the first things we at Home in Dallas do, like when you've settled in on an area, and possibly a specific home, we're going to do a market analysis. So we look at a lot of things here. For example, we look at what have homes sold for. how many homes has the builder listed? All right, and here's a big one. What percentage has the builder been accepting compared to the list price? So by doing this research, right, we get a strong idea of value, okay? Which is extremely important, all right? But also the builder's exposure, okay? Because remember, they're just doing their job, okay? It's their job to make you think there aren't that many homes, okay? Now that's gonna cause you to have that fear of missing out, right? That FOMO, and you end up making like an impulsive decision. And you know what you're not gonna do if you think they only have one home left. You're certainly not gonna lowball them. You're not gonna go into this expecting like a deep discount, all right? Your frame of mind is gonna be, hey, you're gonna feel lucky if you can just get the home under contract at all. So they're out there and they're doing their job, right? And you just fell into the trap. And really, there are so many ways to determine a builder's inventory, okay? So number one, all right, is to know the builder's inventory and exposure. Okay, moving on. The next thing you need to do your research on is any undeveloped land within the subdivision, okay? Other potential builders and what their homes will be like. Now this one is extremely important, okay, to the quality of the neighborhood you're about to move into. You know, sometimes you'll look up a community, okay, and you'll find a community website that lists the builders who will be there, okay? So try to get that information. Oftentimes that's not the case though, okay? You'll find one builder named within one community. And what you don't realize is that builder may very well sell some of their lots to another builder and another builder and so on, but you won't know when or if they're doing this. So imagine you drive up to the Montera subdivision in Fate when they were first building. Okay, you see Grand Homes were there, right? And they have a gorgeous luxury home, right? And that sure sounds good to you. Well, at the time, you may not know that they're also going to have David Weekley homes there, okay? With prices starting from the 379s, okay, and homes as small as 1677 square foot. So do you really want to build like your giant, luxurious home, right? And then have like a small, inexpensive home built next door? Now, for the owner of the small home, okay, this is a great investment, right? But for you, buying the grand home, okay, this is not a great idea at all. Now, we've talked about this before and it bears repeating. You want to be on the lower end of the median sales price for any particular area, okay? You want nicer homes all around you, making your home more desirable, not the opposite, okay? So when you go to a subdivision that's just starting out, you want to always, and I mean always, ask what other builders will be there. And I'm not saying anything bad here about David Weekley, okay? My point is that they're offering a less expensive home. So if I'm buying a luxury home, okay, that's not the neighborhood I want to be in. Now, part of the whole point of this video is it really would be a great idea to build a checklist of things to ask these builders, okay? Because this is not something they're going to naturally tell you. And here's the thing, in all honesty, okay, it's possible they may not know. Okay, but a lot of the time they do, okay? You just have to ask. I mean, I think either way, all right, it definitely merits the due diligence to find out. While we're on this topic of undeveloped land within the subdivision, what about all the proposed and promised amenities? Okay, is that empty lot supposed to be the site of the promised amenity center or the sports court, right? You always want to do your best to find out when the amenities will be built, or even if you can know for sure that they will be built. Now, this one isn't always a problem, okay? Sometimes you'll be lucky enough to buy into a community that's been fairly built up and most of its amenities are already completed. But there are many cases, okay, in which you find like the perfect home at the brand new community with nothing but a brochure of amenities and like empty lots everywhere you look. Of course, if you find yourself in this situation, you want to find out when those amenities will be built, right? And obviously, you know, the problem is that many builders, they may not even know what amenities will be built when or even what any of the plans are, because a lot of times amenities are up to the developer. All right, so don't be surprised to hear the builder quote some vague promises about phase 2 or phase 3 without actually providing any proof. Like an example of this, okay, is the Venetian subdivision in Salina. Okay, they promised a lagoon 4 years ago, yet there's still nothing to be seen of it. Now, basically, when you invest in a community that's just beginning its development, okay, you are assuming a certain level of risk, okay? You might end up paying for amenities that won't be available for years. Okay, so considering, you know, that the average person like lives in the same house for like less than 5 years, all right, it's possible to spend like this huge amount on HOA and PID and MUD fees for amenities you may never get to use or even see. I mean, it's essentially like paying for someone else's enjoyment in the future, okay? So, I mean, that's quite the ripoff. So again, you really want to ask this question and do your due diligence. Now, before we move away from this whole topic of land, okay, let's talk about green space outside of the subdivision. All right, and now this is another tough one where you need answers and sometimes they can be hard to find. So whatever subdivision you decide on, it will start and end somewhere, okay? We're talking, it's obviously logic. All right, so you need to carefully read that site map. And it may be that the home you choose is like nestled within the subdivision, but then again, a lot that's backing up to green space really is desirable. More often than not, when you get that though, you'll be surrounded by like nondescript green space that you need to research. Okay, so sure, I mean, that view may be nice for now, but what happens when another developer buys that land to build a Walmart or a daycare center? All right, so here's what you need to know, okay? What is the zoning? Is it residential, commercial, or multifamily? All right, who owns it? Is it an investor? Are they known for residential or commercial development? All right, what's the area around it? Okay, would it be conducive to a shopping center or maybe just more houses? Does the city have specific designations on it already? Okay, because sometimes they do. And this is really, really important. Okay, you ready? Is there a buffer? Because in the end, it is possible we may not get like a super specific answer here. So that buffer is vital. Next up, you need to know who the builder represents and that it isn't you. Sales consultants will be friendly and helpful, but they're also going to like instill this sense of urgency, okay? And most of the time, they're not gonna spell out like, hey, by the way, I don't represent, your best interest. So don't be fooled by their friendliness, okay? They're there to represent the builder and make a sale, okay? They're not here to help you get the best price or negotiate a great deal or even make sure that you don't overpay. Lennar Homes has an interesting spin to it, okay? They will tell you that they don't represent you, but they're also gonna tell you that really you don't need anyone to represent you, okay? This is how their website reads. Do I need a broker agent to purchase a new home? No, you do not need a broker or agent to purchase a new home from Lennar or one of our subsidiaries. While consultants represent Lennar and not customers, they're knowledgeable experts who are with you every step of your new home journey, answering questions and ensuring your smooth transition into home ownership. By and large though, you just won't be told, okay? It isn't brought up. And I've heard two things when it comes to this, all right? Now, some people will say, like, wow, I never even thought about needing a realtor for new construction. The second thing I've heard, okay, which really doesn't make sense to me whatsoever, okay, is that realtors don't do anything to help with new construction. Okay, so that kind of blows my mind, okay, because we work so much harder with new construction than we do with pre-owned homes. So if you're one of those people, okay, I want to give you a checklist of sorts, okay, because it sounds like really you just need to raise the bar, and I want you to expect better. Okay, so, all right, this is what we do with new construction, okay, and it's what you should expect. If you've decided on new construction, okay, we build a spreadsheet of every new construction home in the area that matches your criteria, and we help you narrow it down, okay? Another thing is we're gonna meet you at showings. Now, some of our buyers like to view on their own, but if you want us there, we will absolutely be there. Now, if you're coming from out of town, we want to make sure your visit is productive, okay? So we schedule everything in advance. We provide a market analysis of what the home is worth. So going in, one of our highest priorities is that you not overpay. All right, now we realize not every builder is gonna dance with us, and you may ultimately be willing to pay market value, but we really, really wanna make sure that you are not upside down. So then we negotiate with the sales consultant. Okay, now this involves so many steps, okay? And honestly, this can take like a week or two of really wearing them down to get you the best possible price. Okay, once we've agreed on price, we spend sometimes up to 2 hours reading every line of the contract with you and ensuring you aren't being taken advantage of. We accompany you on every meeting and inspection. Okay, and we review the loan estimate with you to ensure you're not overpaying. We also pay for a transaction coordinator who keeps track of all the deadlines and moves the sale along. We review the final closing disclosure and we compare it to the loan estimate to ensure you aren't overpaying at the last minute. Now, if you're a buyer who's had that bad experience or you've been told to expect that, okay, we created a checklist of all the services you should expect from an agent, because really, new construction, okay, it involves so many more steps in the representation process. You're not just buying from some private seller who may not know anything more about real estate than you do, okay? You're buying from a major company, okay, with a plethora of lawyers who have created every contract and policy to benefit the builders. So the idea here is that a good agent, okay, they're running both offense and defense for the buyer, right? So we're coming in hard on the negotiating front, but we're also doing that market analysis, reading every line of that contract, which, by the way, okay, if we sound like the right person for the job, okay, you're definitely gonna wanna check out our Let's Find Home questionnaire that you can find in the description section. Now, the point I wanna hammer home here, okay, is the builders are not your friends. They are not after your best interest. And at the end of the day, if you end up upside down from paying too much, that is a good thing for them, all right? Because profit is a good thing. All right, another thing you should always find out before buying new construction is what isn't included compared to the model. Okay, now this can really require some due diligence. Realtor.com quotes Kimberly Mackey, the founder of New Home Solutions, saying, Mackey suggests that new construction buyers use the standard feature sheet while touring model or spec homes to differentiate what designer upgrades they may have. She continues, this will keep potential home buyers from assuming that what they see in a model home is exactly what they'll get. So basically, when you're looking at the model, okay, and it looks so amazing, like so warm and inviting, there are several things that you need to keep in mind, okay? Just the fact the home is staged will emotionally affect you. Okay, so you have to pay attention to the floor plan, the bones of the homes, okay? Things like what size are the bedrooms, okay? How is the flow of the home? How high are the ceilings, right? Also, don't forget the impact mature landscaping will have on you. Your new home is gonna be bare bones compared to what that model has. Like Mackey suggested, get that list of standard features from the sales consultant about what's standard and what's not, and compare it to the model so you can ensure that you're not subconsciously expecting anything you won't get. A good sales consultant will walk you through the entire home and point out what's standard and what's not. And I ask this like of every sales consultant, okay? And I have to tell you, the best one I've ever gotten was a sales consultant with Bloomfield at Hunters Ridge in Crowley. All right, she spent like about an hour pointing out every last detail that was either standard or not standard. So she set a high bar that, you know, so far no one else has been able to match. I mean, we were talking down to the baseboards. She pointed out what was standard. So sometimes, okay, you'll have like a well-educated sales consultant, but other times it will definitely be on you and your agent. Okay, now here's the biggie that encompasses about 50 million other things. Okay, you ready? You have to know what's in the contract. Okay, the sales consultant, they are not going to review that contract with you. Now, I say that, okay, but I do have to say once again, you know, that I have an exception from Bloomfield Homes, okay? That same sales consultant I mentioned earlier, okay, her name was Donna Bolton. She actually went through the entire contract, but every other sales consultant that we have ever worked with has never offered this. Okay, they're just gonna send it to you to sign, and sometimes those contracts are like 50 pages long and more. I've seen some as many as like 75 pages. And this includes, of course, you know, okay, number one, you know, the contract itself. All right, now there's a lot of predatory elements here that you need to be aware of. Second, if it's a new build, all the many options that you've selected, okay? And you have to read this line by line, because here's your spoiler alert. Almost every time we do these, there's always something missing. Okay, something the builder didn't get quite right. Your third thing is your CC&Rs and HOA, okay? And CC&R stands for conditions, covenants, and restrictions. And I want to point something out here, okay? If you are out, you know, buying a pre-owned home, right? Okay, you're gonna use an entirely different contract, and in it, you will have a protection period where you can review the CC&Rs and the HOA documents, and you can terminate the contract for that reason alone. Like, there can be nothing else wrong in the sale, and you can terminate just because you don't like what you see in the HOA, okay? That's not the case with new construction. The onus is on you to decide if you like what you see or not. Oh, and here's another wild card, okay? Not every builder will include the CC&Rs within the body of the contract. Going back to our example of a pre-owned home, okay? You're going to be sent the HOA documents. And again, you have that specific period of time that you can object and get out of the contract. All right, now that's not the case again with new construction. Like for example, the Perry Homes contract. In their notice of membership in Property Owners Association, okay, they write, copies of the restrictive covenants and dedicatory instruments may be obtained from the county clerk. So in this situation, right, the contract alone isn't enough. And remember, you can't terminate the contract and get your deposit back if you don't like what you see there. Okay, so you actually have to go and look up the CC&Rs on the county clerk's website, preferably before you sign the contract, right? Another thing you want to look out for are details about the PID and the MUD. These are extra expenses that are going to hit your wallet just like your mortgage payment, okay? So you need to know what those are going to cost you. And finally, you want to review the warranty. Most builders will give you a 1-10 warranty, okay? Meaning basically like 1 year for functional items, 2 for mechanical, and then 10 for structural. However, there are some builders that will give you a 2-10. Okay, so like then you get like a whole extra year of warranty on the functional part. Overall, in this stage, okay, you have to know there are a lot of predatory clauses in builder contracts because again, they're created by attorneys to benefit the builder. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to sit down with us and read all the fine print, okay, before you ever sign. One of the services we always provide that most agents probably don't, okay, is that detailed contract review. Because again, there will be clauses in these builder contracts that are predatory. Now, that's a whole other ball of wax, okay, that I won't go into here because I've already made an entire video about it that you can watch right here. In the meantime, Wendy out.